Greetings ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Tiana here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch. Basically a remake of the original Kirby's Return to Dreamland on the Nintendo Wii. So last time we've essentially completed everything in terms of World 2 by the forms of Rays and Ruins and all that stuff. So today for this video is about the fact that we're going to be moving on to the next world in the game, which appears to be none other than Onion Ocean. So yeah, we're gonna go into a tropical beach setting, as far as you can definitely tell from the actual world environments we're gonna be going into. So either way, yeah, let's just dive right in, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys about the fact that this is the reason why it took so long to able to actually get this uploading schedule up and running. That's only mainly because about the fact that I was been busy recently, because if you do not know already, I've actually gone back into Sonic Heroes on my own time, but not only on the Nintendo GameCube, but also on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox on my own spare time, just because I feel like I can able to actually complete those games again, except this time around though about the fact that I'm also able to try my best to aim for all A ranks throughout the majority of the playthrough on my own time, as far as I mentioned this briefly. So either way, and also it's nice to able to hear that particular kind theme in the background, if you couldn't tell already, because that's obviously based off from Kirby's Dreamland 2. So either way though, you probably get the actual idea about this, especially concerning about the fact that you know Kirby's Dreamland 2 was already now available on the Nintendo Switch online subscription services. So that's actually super dope and everything, especially because we've already got, you know, the entire Kirby's Dreamland trilogy of games now. So because of that, and same applies with the forms of the Dark Matter trilogy as well, ranging between the forms of, let me just say, Kirby's Dreamland 2, Kirby's Dreamland 3, and Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards. So because of that though, it's actually pretty fantastic all things considered, especially because, again, if you actually miss out on certain classics back in the old days, basically though it's about the fact that now is your chance you can able to actually experience those good old Kirby classic games on the go. So either way, that might be saying something. So anywho, so a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is about the fact that, well, today's date, of course, there is the 7th of April today, in this case in 2023 today. There are some ton of things I could probably discuss upon something to you guys. First of all, about the fact the matter is, though, that as far as what both Mighty and Ray are both considered, that they both finally managed able to finishing up with the forms of the Super Mario All-Stars playthrough. And because of that though, relatively speaking though, as far as everything else I could possibly discuss upon something, actually I'll get into more details about this in a moment, because this is where we come across into ourselves this new types of enemies that is actually introduced in this remake, and that is of course by the forms of a mecha transformation. And basically though is about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, I will able to mention more about it briefly, that basically this is the forms of the mecha copy ability, which think of like the forms of the actual mecha robots thing from the likes of Planet Robobots, except it's just basically a copy ability instead of the forms of that particular main mechanic. So basically what the mecha copy ability does is that this allows you to able to shoot fireballs from above, and on top of that you can able to charge up your laser beam if you want to able to save up for some charge. And what you can do with it is that if you try to block, and then if you try to able to like charge up your beam attack and then save it for later, then basically though is about the fact that, you know, think of like the forms of how it does it on well, I don't know about you, because it's been about 2 days since I actually last played this. Because exponentially speaking though, about the fact that, you know, about the fact that in the Super Mario Bros. Movie that we've already just gotten recently, during the forms of it 2 days ago, well, usually relatively speaking though, as far as the actual results of the film is concerned, it's actually doing pretty well. Well, apart from the one particular aspect, but I'll explain more details in a moment, because there are some tons of stuff I would like to mention, and that is about the fact that there's going to be a new Nintendo 64 game is going to be on its way on the forms of the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, and that's what appears to be by the forms of Pokemon Stadium. Yeah, just Pokemon Stadium, the first game. Well, technically speaking, the second game on during the forms of the Japanese version, because obviously the first game was back in I would say 1998 or something like that. Mind you, I haven't exactly looked upon that much of Pokemon Stadium games as much as the next guy. But relatively speaking though, about the fact of the matter is though, that it wasn't until when it gets to the point, until on the 12th of April, that basically we will be getting Pokemon Stadium onto the actual Nintendo Switch itself. So relatively speaking though, I almost thought they were able to actually bring a double pack, you know, similar to the forms of how it does in Mario Party 1 and Mario Party 2, but apparently though, it's gonna go into its individual release. So because of that though, yeah, we're only just getting Pokemon Stadium 1 as of now, and then eventually we'll get Stadium 2 later down the road. Although, relatively speaking, that might be actually be a good alternative if you actually missed out on playing both Pokemon Stadium 1 and especially Stadium 2, because Stadium 2 was actually the most expensive Pokemon games you can ever find, at least in terms of the forms of the UK sales. Although I was expecting to be able to actually just try to get those games and the original copies of those games, but unfortunately though I haven't exactly gone round into them, because for what I've heard, the minigames are definitely the coolest part about it, but relatively speaking though, it's just about the fact that unfortunately though, if you ever able to try out the Pokemon Stadium game on the forms within the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, you realize that you only just gonna have to stuck with the forms of the rental Pokemon, so there's no Game Boy link-up system. So, yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, especially concerning about the fact that if those of you who grew up with the forms of the Pokemon games in the past, basically though, you have no option to do it on the actual Nintendo Switch Online membership services, sadly. So, either way, because chances are though, unfortunately though, the Game Boy Pokemon games are definitely not going to be up there during the forms of the actual Game Boy lineup, or Game Boy Color lineup, or even Game Boy Advance lineup as well. Well, I highly doubt it. But we shall see what happens during at some point in possibly next year, because obviously they're working on not only Pokemon Sleep, but also with the DLC for Scarlet and Violet. So, I guess that makes it pretty much obvious for the sake of time. So, anywho, so, yeah, because I almost first thought that Mario Party 3 is going to be on its way, but maybe at some point either on May or June, depending on the forms of certain stimulations. So, speaking of May though, as you probably already know, for those of you who lived in the UK, Puss in Boots The Last Wish on DVD and Blu-ray is going to be on its way until the 8th of May. Specifically, around the same time as King Charles' Coronation Day. Well, for those of you who don't know, I guess it's about a few of you at this point, because relatively speaking though about the fact you already know that Queen Elizabeth II did pass away during the forms of it last September in 2022, because, well, you probably already know what that is though, especially if you looked up on our community tab, then you probably already know what I'm talking about. So, seriously, I just really love the tornado right here. I'm so glad we can able to actually utilize this ability again. So, because obviously, much like the forms of how it does in the original version of the game, you can just simply make everything else invulnerable for certain bosses and stuff like that with the Sphere Dumos and stuff. And also, if you manage to hold down the button instead of, you know, shaking the Wii Remotes and stuff like that, you can able to actually do a huge tornado thing you can able to pull off. So that way you can able to deal with the devastating attack if you manage to able to desire. So, and I did not mean to do that because that was actually the most riskiest move I've ever done. But regardless of such though, about the fact that we did somehow, you know, finish the level as always. So, and exponentially, the later worlds might actually get a bit lengthy. Well, especially noticeable, whenever we get to the forms of the 5th world in the game, we're expecting to be a little bit more lengthy and longer. So, chances are, though, yeah, that's as far as I can usually think about this. So, and as far as the remaining games are concerned, it looks like we've almost done, in terms of right now, for the sake of the N64 games lineup, when it comes to the Nintendo Switch Online, you know, expansion pack. Because obviously the only games we got left, which are, I would say, Excite Bike 64, Mario Party 3, Pokemon Stadium 2, and 1080 Snowboarding, if I recall. So, relatively speaking now about the fact that maybe we'll able to actually hear more about the forms of the N64 games lineup in the future. To be more specifically, hopefully they'll try to able to add in Donkey Kong 64, or perhaps even maybe Banjo-Tooie, or even Diddy Kong Racing, or heck, even with Super Smash Bros., you know, the original game that started it all, because obviously the last time they actually did re-release Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64 was back on the forms of the Nintendo Wii, because obviously with the GameCube controller support. So, I wonder if they were able to do that same kind of thing until whenever they revealed that. So, but either way though, we shall see what happens later down the road. So, either way. Oh, and on top of all that stuff though, before we get into more details on other news and discussions more about it, that as you can see, that there was a little bit of an improvement from the likes of the forms of how it does in the original version. I just realized you can now able to actually swim diagonally this time. So because of that though, relatively speaking though, I can totally see why though a lot of people seemed able to fully appreciate about the quality of life improvements for the sake of the forms of, you know, certain issues I have with the forms of the original version of the game. Don't get me wrong, I still really enjoyed the original version of the game, don't get me wrong, but it's just about the fact that there are some pretty strange decisions to make. But either way though, that's for a topic for a later time. So either way though, let's just go ahead and take out this particular mini boss right here, so we can able to actually obtain, you know, the cutter ability, because something tells me the energy sphere is going to be up its way. So, yeah, that's what I thought about it. So, either way, and I'm almost gonna lose my life at the very moment for the sake of time. But either way, though, that might be something I would like to able to just, well, I think that's as far as I can think about it. So, anywho, so, yeah, in terms of the Japanese version of the forms of Pokemon Stadium is also getting its, well, to be more specifically, Pocket Monster Stadium 2, because well, the first game was only exclusive to Japan, so I don't know if they might as well able to do the original Poke Monster Stadium in the Japanese version on the actual NSO expansion pack, but again, we shall probably wait and see what happens in due time. Although, relatively speaking, when it comes to the Japanese version of Pokemon Stadium 2, well, to be more specifically, the English version of Pokemon Stadium 2, it later becomes, you know, Poke Monster Stadium Gold and Silver in a Japanese version. So, again, it's a bit tricky to explain for this point because, well, again, it's been a very long while since I actually mentioned something related to Pokemon stuff. Aside from the fact that you already know about the fact that the newest anime of Pokemon stuff is going to be on its way. That's what appears to be called Pokemon Horizons, the series, which obviously focuses on a different protagonist and all that stuff. So, I'm curious to see what this is all about. Mind you, it really do able to mess up my nostalgia a little bit. Well, that's only mainly because I'm pretty much used to with Ash Ketchum a lot more, especially because, well, Ash and Pikachu are definitely the most iconic duos when it comes to the Pokemon community, especially because, relatively speaking, ever since in 1997 all the way up to 2023, my god, it's been a wild ride when it comes to both Ash and Pikachu ever since then. So either way, oh yeah, I forgot to mention there was actually that particular point where, in terms of the forms of the, of what's going on in the actual Amazon, things itself at the moment, as far as what, both Mighty and Ray have already mentioned about this during the forms of in the Super Mario All-Stars ending video, you realize about the fact that every now and then, that the Super Mario Bros. Movie on DVD and Blu-ray, including 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, has now been listed on Amazon recently. So, and as far as I'm aware, as far as the actual prediction of the release date is concerned, my guess it might be something similar to the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, if possible, that it might able to be released at some point during the summer, specifically either August or September, depending on the actual stipulations. So because of that though, yeah, I'm super looking forward to able to, you know, buy that film again, or to be more specifically, just try to able to get the film on not only on DVD, but also Blu-ray, because obviously with gorgeous visuals alike. But either way, though, that might be saying something. So, speaking of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, again, I'm not going to mention any spoilers, because, you know, it's a new film, so I don't want to able to mention any spoilers for the time being. So, relatively speaking, the reviews are up, and the fans, like, really adored it. While for critics, though, I just don't get it. Especially because, well, first off, you know, audience, especially noticeable concerning for fans, really enjoyed it, myself included, especially because, you know, this is without doubt one of the greatest Mario films ever nowadays, especially concerning it's way more better than the films of how it does on that very terrible 1993 counterpart. And because of that though, you probably already know what I explained about this, because I already briefly explained about this in the last video on this, because, well, you probably already know about this. So, oh, and on top of all of these offenses though, that I believe, what I've heard anyway, the box office is actually doing pretty alright. Well, at least for right now anyway. And there goes my #1 goal game winning streak, because I think I accidentally timed the actual jump at the earliest point if possible. So yeah, that's kind of my fault, but oh well, no big deal anyway, because thankfully, unlike the forms of how it does in the original version of Kirby's Return to Dreamland itself, basically though is about the fact you notice about the fact that the lives counter does not reset anymore. So basically what that means is that similar to the forms of how it does it in Kirby Star Allies, also for the Nintendo Switch essentially, basically you can now able to actually save up your lives as much as your desire. So there's any rare moments you will get game over in this game, especially it's way easier to able to grind extra lives, if assuming of course if you do manage to able to keep on finding yourself some more secrets, and on top of that, just anything else in general. So either way, let's just go ahead and swim through this door right here. And relatively speaking though, everything else will be pretty much accounted for. So, I believe so far in the Super Mario Bros. Movie is actually on $66 million worldwide for its box office earnings. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good start. Especially just like the forms of how it does it in not only Detective Pikachu, I believe, but also with Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movies. I'm pretty sure the actual the opening thing is actually getting super impressive, at least for what I've heard anyway. So either way though, yeah, that's actually super dope and everything, because obviously about the fact that I believe the next video game movie based on the actual like, well, what I meant to say is that the next film I was about to see, based off on the video games, I believe next up I'm about to be seeing is, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but that wasn't until in 2024 that we will be able to see that film for reals. So, just to ensure about the fact the matter is though, for those who have seen Sonic the Hedgehog 2, it is super cool. So either way though, that might be saying something in my opinion. Especially concerning about the fact that I just don't understand why, that one thing I just don't understand, that the critics might give the actual films like this a bit lower than the certain fans, because, well, I just don't get it. So either way though, because, well, biased I guess, I'm not exactly sure. But hey, at least on the upside is about the fact that perhaps this time, that both me and Jewel, alongside with the forms of the My Little Pony characters, ranging between Twilight Sparkle, Fluttershy, and Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, Applejack, Rarity, and heck, even with the forms of Starlight Glimmer, and Trixie essentially, I'm also able to invite them to also come to see the Super Mario Bros. Movie at some point, and oh no, there goes my Maximum Tomato, and there's no way I can get it because of that water current. Ah, that was totally my fault for able to actually just throw it on the opposite direction, so, oh well. No big deal anyway though, because aside from the fact that, well, there is that one thing that you probably already expect at this point, is that if you, those of you who have played the original version of the game before, if you manage to complete the game once, basically you would be able to actually access the extra mode, which basically means is about the fact that you come across into harder variations of certain bosses, and on top of that you do have a half unit of health, and on top of that I was thinking to myself, similar to the forms of how it does in the original version of the game as a playthrough back in 2020. Unfortunately though, the extra mode is not going to happen to me anyway, because not only do I found it's a bit more of a samey thing as the forms of how it does in the original main story mode, but it's also I found it's a tad bit more frustrating compared to the forms of how it does in the normal mode. At least to me anyway, because I know for a fact that for one thing, that I believe that's, I don't know about you, because it's been about 5 years ago since we've actually last touched upon our Let's Play, of Kirby's Dream Land 1 on the Game Boy. Because relatively speaking though, about the fact that despite we did manage to play the game on the 3DS Virtual Console version, despite the quality is a bit average, but aside from all that stuff though, about the fact the matter is though, I do remember that point where the extra game on Kirby's Dream Land 1 is a bit frustrating, I'm telling you, especially because concerning about the fact that you die a lot in that particular mode, so... And then also keep in mind, you have to keep an eye on what the forms of where the path is going to lead us to the energy sphere, because if you lose sight on that, basically though, there's no way you can get it, aside from the fact that the only way you can able to hopefully try to get it is by restarting the level, or potentially speaking though, it's kind of difficult to explain. So either way, oh yeah, speaking of Pokemon related thing, is that there was actually the accessory called the Pokemon Go Plus accessory. Now I think it's going to be out at some point in July 21st in this year. So relatively speaking though, that's all I can really say about this for the most part. Aside from the fact that it only works in during the forms of well, I would say for the likes of the forms of Pokemon Go, or potentially Pokemon Sleep. I have no exactly 100% sure about any of these specific stuff, because I know for a fact it's been, you know, quite a few days since I actually known about something related to Pokemon, aside from, you know, the new animated series is on its way, so even then though, chances are that might be something worth noting for, so... Oh, and on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that I believe, until next Thursday anyway, is that Dokapon Kingdom Connect, for the sake of the Nintendo Switch, is going to be releasing next Thursday in the Japanese version. So because of that though, well, despite the fact that I'm not exactly a huge on that particular game, I must be honest here, that's only mainly because I'm still more accustomed to Mario Party a lot more, just because of all that addictive nature of it, especially because, you know, mini-games come into play. Although, it is an interesting idea, but it's just that it's not my kind of thing when it comes to, like, experiencing the actual entire game itself. But I must be honest here, because obviously there was no point for able to get the Wii version nowadays because of, well, it's too expensive and pricey at the same time. Especially in the UK version's case, because, my lord, 100 euros or 100 pounds or more? Jeez, that's way too much for my liking. So... anyways though, and I suppose I should probably also mention about this as well, about the fact the matter is though, is that unfortunately though, that someone said in the comments down below, that not only does it able to get my most upsetting moments in Journey forms that specific knowledge, but also out of the blue, they are obviously working on another remake adaptation of a Disney movie, and my god, does it get old very fast. Especially, well, let's talk about the forms of the most disappointing aspect in terms of the forms of the upcoming film called The Little Mermaid 2023, that you already know is about the fact that the original version is still a major classic even to this day. However, in a remake though, I have no words to say, because someone said in the comments down below during the forms of the last few videos ago, apparently, one of those characters called Flotsam and Jetson, you know, those minions from the likes of the forms of Ursula, you know, with these eels and stuff like that. Well, apparently these two duos are about to be removed in a live-action remake, and I was like, for God's sake, line it up! Oh, jeez, what were they thinking? Seriously, it's bad enough they're able to actually remove not only Timothy the Mouse from the likes of Dumbo, but also they removed Mushu from the likes of Mulan. But it's just, I'm just getting pretty mad right now, especially concerning about the fact that, gee, I wonder if that particular film is gonna get flopped in Journey forms of the actual weekend department or the opening day or something like that. Because mind you, about the fact the matter is though, is that, well, despite the fact that not so much Doctor Strange, but that usually came out in last year for the, you know, the Multiverse of Madness, or anything else to be more specific. But, the one I'm referring to is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, that it doesn't do that successfully well, I must be honest here, especially concerning about the fact that, well, most people seem able to complain about the weird CGI comes into play. Well, I'm not exactly sure how do I explain about this, because it's been like, I don't know, 2 months ago since I actually last seen the film, and I thought it was okay. But it's just about the fact of the matter is, though, it has some very odd design choices of what the actual Marvel series is going for. At least to me, anyway, so... Alright, come on. Oh, yes. That way, we can able to get 30 more of those star collectibles. So, anyway... So, yeah, in terms of the films, the live-action movies, adaptations, they're working on... Moana. I have no idea why they decided to go for that decision when it comes to able to predicting the actual remake of Moana. Like, the original film is actually really, really good. Especially how the lighting is actually really impressive. And on top of that, the actual character interactions is actually, you know, a lot more comedic. And also on top of that, I really do appreciate about the actual commentary effort. But it's just... I have no idea why they managed able to do a remake of this. Well, it wasn't until when it gets to the point until... let's just say during the forms of like... Oh, I don't know, because I just don't really care anymore. Well, aside from the fact that Dwayne Johnson is going to be on there, well, at least in ever since in Jungle Cruise, at least if I recall correctly. Mind you, I still have not seen Jungle Cruise by myself, because obviously, this is one of the point where Disney decides to go, what can we do, or we wonder, to make something new? What about we're able to actually bring back the classic films, but with realistic settings, like, was in the real world. So they decided able to make it a little bit more photorealistic direction, especially for the Lion King's case. Oh dear God, no. Ah, jeez. I'm just getting sick and tired of the forms of that particular stuff, though. Especially that back in the day, Disney was used to be the most iconic thing in the world. But nowadays, they just want money. They just seriously wanted money after the events of the actual, you know, box office bombs between, you know, not only Lightyear, but also with the forms of, you know, Strange World, the most disappointing film in the actual community. So it's just, I just don't get it. And speaking of I don't get it, that's what I get for able to actually just mention about that stuff. Especially because, well, at least I did manage to able to get hit and take the invincibility frames with me. But either way, though, that might be just saying something. Hey, okay, enough about that particular things itself in mind, because either way... Oh, and I realized something, they're also going to be doing another live-action adaptation, but this time it appears to be The Nightmare Before Christmas featuring Johnny Depp. I just got my face palmed in my hand at the moment. Well, despite I'm still focusing on playing this at this point. Ah, jeez, I'm done with the actual company right now. Although, again, it used to be fun back in the day, but nope, they just ruined the actual nostalgia memory. They really do. God, I couldn't imagine things get any worse than that. Although, I totally get it about the fact that Pixar is not going to go for that particular direction, luckily. Because, well, relatively speaking, it's just, well, everything is all completely, well, computer-generated imagery. So because of that, though, yeah, I just pretty much done with that conversation for right now. Because I just want to move on. Oh yeah, speaking of something related to good news, on the other hand, that, well, Mike Myers, alongside with the forms of Eddie Murphy, and, I can't remember what the other actor's name was, which she did manage to able to voice, Princess Fiona. But basically, they had a talk about the forms of the return for Shrek 5. And let me tell you, I'm actually pretty hyped about it. And also, a bit optimistic at the same time. Especially after the events of, well, let's say the first two films are super iconic. And the third film is not that very good. And the fourth film is okay, but not the best either. But aside from all that stuff, though, I'm actually optimistic to see what Shrek 5 is actually gonna, has to offer. Well, assuming, of course, it'll become true. So, either way, Now, I suppose another thing I should probably explain as well is that the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster finally gets its release date on the Nintendo Switch, and apparently it's going to be releasing until April 19th this year. So, expecting about the fact that we've only just got about, I would classify for saying 12 days remaining, if I recall. So, yeah, according to the forms of the actual release schedule time-wise. So, yeah, I guess that's all there is to it. So, although, on the upside is, though, is about the fact that there is actually a new film that's going to be on its way as well, which appears to be Five Nights at Freddy's film adaptation, and that's going to be releasing until roughly during the exact same time as Halloween. Well, I say roughly because obviously the release date for that film is going to be releasing until October 27th, so because of that though, I'm curious to see what that's going to be turns out to be, despite I have never actually played Five Nights at Freddy's before, but I've definitely heard about it, but either way, I don't usually play it. Well, apart from the fact that they did somehow manage to get it re-released during the forms of the Nintendo Switch platform, so along with any other like systems as well, I believe. So yeah, this seems all pretty interesting to say the least, so I'm not exactly sure if I was going to be able to see it for myself just yet though, but I'm optimistic about that, so. And also I just found out about the fact the matter is though, is that, well, ever since in yesterday, that I suppose that both Mighty and Ray have also both forgot to mention about during the course of the Super Mario All-Stars playthrough. Well, I'm happy to report, well, despite I'm not a big fan of it to begin with, but basically, happy 20th anniversary of the release of Sonic X, specifically the Japanese release of the actual series. Especially concerning about the fact that, well, most people seem to able to do remember the cartoon quite nicely, especially concerning they obviously recap the stories based off from not only from Sonic Adventure, but also with Sonic Adventure 2 as well, which I think is actually a cool touch, except the fact that they obviously bring in 4Kids voice cast, and this is what we're able to actually firstly introduce to the 4Kids voice cast, before they do the video games of the actual voice cast, until Shadow the Hedgehog rolls around, so. But either way, that might be saying something, despite the fact that Chris Thorndike is easily the weakest part of the forms of the actual anime itself, which I possibly understand why, because a lot of people do not overly care about him that much, which I could possibly understand why, so yeah, that might be saying something, so. Oh, and speaking of also something related to Sonic the Hedgehog, basically there's going to be another cosmetic characters, which are not only for Amy, but also for Rouge as well, are about to be coming onto the Sonic Forces Speed Battle mobile game. And that is of course about the fact that we get Popstar Amy and Rockstar Rouge, so pretty interesting all things considered, despite I give up on that game because my god, the players around the world is actually a lot aggressive as far as when I used to play it, back in the day anyway, but I don't usually play it as much anymore because I'm more referring to back onto Sonic Dash because Sonic Dash is actually quite relaxing to me, but I'm hoping that I might actually bring that up in Journey forms within Sonic Dash as well, assuming of course they're able to bring that up, so. Anyway, and one thing I did not expect, there was actually technically a special like Sonic Adventure tournament disc has been discovered, which I'm pretty sure that particular disc is all about, you know, you're able to experience the very first level in Sonic Adventure called Emerald Coast, and then basically though is about the fact that you obviously play as Sonic the whole way through, and basically I think you do have about roughly 2 minutes of playtime, and once 2 minutes is up, it actually shows you the results, so yeah, it seems kind of interesting all things considered, which I've never actually thought about it at first, until now anyway though, so I think it's actually quite intriguing to able to see that particular information like that, so. Anywho, now I suppose another thing I should probably explain is that the Sonic Hacking Contest is going to be returning for this year, and it's going to be releasing around this, I think it's going to be releasing until October, so yeah, it's basically exactly the same release month-wise as the past years or something, so. But yeah, I think that's as far as I can talk about for this point, guys. Apart from the fact that, well, relatively speaking now, about the fact I'm just getting a bit ticked off for the sake of the bombs of, you know, the live action thing is getting very old, very fast. Well, Apart from a couple of exceptions though, like, you know, Sonic movies, they're always a good time for my part. Especially because, you know, about the fact that, well, it's just my kind of thing. So, yeah, because obviously I always adore Sonic so much. But I digress. So, anyways, let's go take on the forms of the next boss, which appears to be Fatty Puffer right here. Which, I have no idea why I've somehow lost my copy ability, which I somehow accidentally get my mecha copy ability to make things a bit quicker and faster. But I will admit though, the damage output wasn't exactly too high, I don't think. But at least I did manage to able to show you guys what it does. Oh, and you can also able to get yourselves infinite amount of air thanks to the forms of the actual jetpack. So yeah, that seems all pretty seductive. But gotta think about it though, it does kind of reminds me of something related to the Jet Kirby copy ability in the past games. Except the fact that you now actually have yourselves your fire ammo count or something like that. So, well, again, it's a bit tricky to explain because, you know, this is actually the first time we actually see mecha copy ability in action. So, either way, though, let's just go ahead and try to focus around here. So, just to ensure we don't want to get hit too many times. So, oh, good. Okay. At least the good thing I somehow blocked. So, because of that, if I... Oh, jeez. Okay. And how did I miss that? Okay, whatever. And then, if you ever actually see him flashing, that actually means you have to hover, so... Alright. Oh, okay. Alright, there we go. Huh, that took a bit longer than I thought. But at least on the upside, we've now recovered the left wing. So, that pretty much does it for the wings. So... Now, I believe the next part we are able to actually just try to obtain, and I think it has to be by default the emblem, so... Oh yeah, I should probably also mention about this as well, is that at some point later down the road, during the forms of this month, that I will able to discuss upon looking back on 10 years of one of those Nintendo Directs, back in the forms of in April 2013, which, as a result, I kind of believe has been... Time flies, especially concerning about the fact that you know what I'm saying. And there we go. So we've only got about 2 parts to go until Lord Starcutter is being fully restored. So that basically explains any of this stuff. Oh yeah, and also something's worth noting for about the fact the matter is though is that I also just found out that this game does have an amiibo functionality as well, which I think I should probably show this off in a later time because, well, don't get too surprised about this because obviously it's more likely one of those you won't be missing your god dang thing kind of syndrome or something. So either way, so yeah, that basically takes care of Wall 3. So I think, suffice to say, I think we should probably end things up at this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch. Instead, we're going to be moving on to World 4, which is White Wolfers, I think is what it says anyway. So I'll see you guys until on Monday. Later, fellas.